Awareness for health and well-being. If you know what's going on, you can be much more aware of what's happening to you and right choices to help you. To be healthy, we can look at various things that help us keep our health up to scratch. This can be put down onto a plate or a platter, and we call this the healthy mind platter. We need sleep time, we need physical time, focus time, connecting time, play time, downtime, and time in. Focus time is when we have the close paying of attention that promotes neuroplasticity or nerve cell changes by altering the chemicals in the brain that help its capacity to grow and learn. That's when we're focusing. When we focus, we're causing the brain to change. We're making new connections in our brain. Playtime. It's time to be playful, to be spontaneous, engaged in moment-to-moment experience in new and creative ways. Physical time. The active movement of our body actually promotes brain plasticity. In other words, brain changes. It makes the brain more changeable. Daily aerobic exercise optimizes the neuroplastic benefits of body and motion. This exercise should be voluntary and done as a daily habit. Connecting time. Positive social relationships are exceedingly important. When we connect to others, we engage in the fundamental social circuitry of the brain and create the relational reality of ourself. In other words, we find ourselves, how we connect, and how we're interdependent with other people. Social connections shape the mind. When those connections are formed with a sense of gratitude and generosity, we appreciate relationships and bring kindness to them, and then we flourish. When we have good feelings towards other people, these good feelings come back to us, and this helps us to flourish and have a full and happy life. Downtime is when we take time just to relax. This allows the brain to organize its neural firing, consolidate its learning, and enter its resting state. The resting state's integrated functioning is associated with well-being. Finding time to relax is essential to keep the mind healthy. And time in is when we take time to reflect inwardly and focus our attention on an array of internal mental activities, such as our sensations and feelings and thoughts. Become aware of what sensations we have, what feelings we have, and what thoughts are running through our mind. Reflection on the internal world that stabilizes attention and creates an open, receptive state is mindful awareness, as we get it in mindful meditation practice. And this promotes lots of beneficial effects, such as improving our immune response and regulating our genes so we can live better and longer, to enhance our capacity to regulate our emotions and attention, and to engage with others and ourselves with more compassion and understanding instead of just losing our tempers and being irritable. Sleep time is when we sleep, the brain integrates the learning from the day and consolidates new experiences, old memories, and even random firing patterns into dreams and long-term learning. This is termed memory consolidation, and lack of sufficient quality or duration of sleep can impair our learning. Lack of sleep lessens our ability to pay attention and alters our sugar metabolism, making us more prone to obesity and diabetes and sickness. Sleep time is crucial for mental well-being. So when we have our dreams, it's showing how our brain is consolidating what we've learned and what experienced during the day with old memories and understanding. So having a healthy mind platter is very important to our well-being and health. Having enough sleep time, having enough physical time, having enough focus time, having enough connecting time, having enough play time, having enough downtime, and having enough time in being able to reflect on what's going on inside ourselves. When we are healthy, our bodies function well, our relationships with other people thrive, and our minds are strong. And how we focus our attention shapes everything. When we shape our energy and information flow towards interconnection, the quality of lives are increased. It's the term interbeing, the interconnectedness of everything. So we don't pull ourselves out and think ourselves as separate individuals, but we see ourselves as part of an interconnected whole. And well-being arises when we foster respectful relationships and compassionate relationships. Because what we give to others comes back to us. We have compassionate relationships, people are compassionate and understanding to us. When we have respect to others, people will come to respect us. So all our actions have cause and effects. Beneficial actions give beneficial effects. Destructive actions give destructive effects. And well-being can be enhanced by training the mind with strategies to increase our integrative nature of our connections both with others and the world and within ourselves. And these connections give life a sense of meaning and a sense of purpose. And we watch whether we do beneficial things to our interconnected world or destructive things to our interconnected world. And health is based on good integration across the mind, body and relationships. In other words, we see our connections to everything else, we integrate what's happening, being aware of what's happening in our world. Our outside world, through our seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching, through our own body, our own feelings on that body and our mind, our thought habits, our thought activity, our mental states, and very importantly our interpersonal relationships with other people. We're aware of these, and then we can have a healthy relationship when we base them on good understanding. So educating people to become aware in this way promotes their resilience, being able to better to effectively adapt to stress and be stronger, increases their reflection, the ability to focus in attention on mental activities, on their relationships, pattern more interaction between two or more people that involve sharing of energy and information flow. So when we educate people in this way, they become stronger, they can look better inside themselves, they improve their relationships with us. And mindful or awareness meditation gives us the means to observe what is happening in our body, feeling, mind and around us, and our reactions to these emotions, whether beneficial or destructive. Gives us time to reflect what might be the result of actions we're considering. Allows us to choose whether we allow the emotion and the action to continue or to stop, and we can choose what we want going to do about what we are thinking. So we should become motivated to be aware and see what is happening. We should be clear about our lives and our happiness and suffering, understanding with empathy the situation of others, and following which comes up from our birth and us getting old and getting sick and dying, and everything is continuously changing. So we've got to be motivated, we've got to understand this is a very important thing to do. We can really help ourselves by increasing our understanding of what's going on in and outside ourselves. We've got to come to see clearly of how we instantly react to things without thinking. We react with like or no liking, and this changes our picture of the world and causes us to behave with attachments that can result in unhappiness. We see suddenly somebody we don't like, we can instantly react and say we hate that person and go and do something bad or say something bad to that person. Well, that person may not be as bad as we think he is, but just we act in that sort of way very quickly. Our instant reactions are very, very important to look at and find out what's happening in our mind. Yes, we've got to learn to watch. So it's an understanding that there's a need to change. Come to understand, to remove this habit of instant reactivity, our mind will become much more peaceful, less anxious, and we can come to see things more clearly and unbiasedly, and choose to act in beneficial ways that results in happiness and well-being for ourselves and others. So we must practice to change, and to do this we should practice to act in ethical and beneficial ways. We should practice to watch and select our thoughts and emotion, and should practice to deepen our understanding and changing of changing reality. So we practice to act, we practice to watch and select, we practice to deepen our understanding. We learn to let go of these destructive emotions which we react so quickly to things with. These destructive emotions can be divided up into anger, family, of hatred, enmity, malice, irritability, which are characterized by pushing away or repulsion. Pride is an excessive attachment to a deluded self-image, leading to repulsion or disdain for anything that threatens this cherished self-image. That's the anger family, pushing things away, hating challenges. Attachment family is greed, lust, craving, desire, carried by a sense of attraction or pulling towards that person or that thing. And envy or jealousy is attachment and attraction with anger, hostility and repulsion. So attachment family is very important because it causes so much problem in our mind, as does the anger family. Also there's laziness and just giving up on things, not being strong to go ahead. There's agitation, stress and worry. There's fear, uncertainty and lack of self-confidence. Afflictive doubt is caused by habitual fear and unrealistic self-loathing which stops compassion. Somebody always doubts themselves, goes on, and have no self-compassion for themselves or understanding. And finally there are beliefs such as I am more or less important than others. I am always right and others are wrong. I am unchanging and cannot change. This belief is not true because we are always changing. We're not the same as we were yesterday or last year. I is different. It's always changing. You've got to understand I is dependent on others and how we see things and how we interact with other people. So we must come to understand the destructive nature of all these afflictive emotions and overcome them by recognizing what they do in ourselves and others by changing the way we see things and react to them. They cause us so much problems in our mind because once we see things with anger in our mind, we look at the world, everything is angry. We see things with greed in our mind or desire or lust in our mind. We start seeing things in people in that sort of way. We see somebody in the opposite sex walking around half naked, we get a certain sexual desire. Unless we control it, we cause many problems, many stupid thoughts in our mind. And if we combine all these thoughts with agitation, they can become very destructive and cause us to act in very bad ways. We lose control and fight or attack or try and grab other people. So we must have a strong enthusiasm to do this so we become happy and peaceful. So we must really come to understand the destructive natures of all these afflictive emotions. So how are some of the antidotes we should cultivate? As forbearance, just being strong and not impatient and not getting cross. Contentment, instead of wanting more, being greedy, wanting more satisfaction, wanting more sex. Courage for fear. Understanding for doubt. Strength and enthusiasm for laziness. Becoming really strong and really happy and doing this type of thing is very important. The cause of these afflictive or destructive emotions are inside us. They're not outside. We put these destructive emotions, we put this anger, greed, and lust, and hatred, and worry, and fear, and beliefs into our mind. It's not somebody else. We control our mind. So how we look at our external circumstances depends on our own outlook, our own attitude, and our own emotional habit. Often our irritable and frustrations are unrealistic and exaggerated beyond what the situation merits. Often we want to try and keep things that are changing the same. We get angry because things are changed. Somebody doesn't do something the way we think it should be done. Perhaps it's better that it's done their way, but we don't look at that. These destructive emotions feed on themselves and grow. If you look at our way we think, often we have some thought, that person made me angry. Then about a minute or two later it comes back in, why did that person make me angry? That was really bad of them. Then another few minutes comes back, I really hate that person for making me angry. Then another few minutes comes back, I'm going to go and attack that person. You made me angry. Then another few minutes comes back, I'm going to encourage other people to hate that person because they're really terrible people. They made me angry. These destructive emotions just go on feeding and growing and get out of all proportion, really mad, and our mind goes mad. And the more we indulge in them, the stronger they become. And they can become our habits, or our character even. We can become a person who's always angry, become a person who always lazy and give up, become a person who always was craving. We can become a sexual sort of slave to our desires, racing after people. We become a person who worries all the time. A person can be frightened. We can believe in all muscle eyes and devils and poisons and all those kind of things. And all these beliefs just make us go mad. and to just grow and grow and grow stronger and change our mental characteristics and become this type of person. So we've got to become aware of what destructive emotions do to our relationships, to ourselves, affecting our mood, our sleep, our appetite. These destructive emotions can determine how we behave, which places we go. If we're frightened to go to various things because people make me think in that sort of way, I got these sort of beliefs. It makes us reflect how we believe others are. And then it starts make people think how we are. Gee, look at that person, he's afraid to go there at night time. He must be really stupid. He's not strong. All these destructive emotions do this. And then you look at these things and you compare what happens when we maintain a tranquil mind and get rid of all these stupid, destructive emotions. So destructive emotions arise in a causal change. And we've got to become aware of the underlying causes of this consent and do not bottle up our emotions. Otherwise they'll explode one time, like a volcano explodes and make things much worse. We've got to deal with these underlying causes and do not wait until they become a full-blown fire. We learn to observe our physical and mental reactions, our feelings, our changes in muscle, tension, where we're putting our hands, the way we're acting, changes our voice. And when we see these destructive emotions, we just try and let them go. We don't encourage them. We don't let them grow. Just let them go. So become aware and catch the moment before the emotion arises. And we desensitize the triggers by not allowing a element of projection of our mood or emotion to distort our interpretation of things. In other words, when we see that person coming, we don't allow hatred or anger just to arise like that. We just stop and just see things as they are. Moods and traits make us more susceptible to certain emotions. When we're in a bad mood, or when we're sleepy, or we're angry, it makes the emotion more strong. Sometimes our moods can change quickly. Sometimes one moment we can be happy with somebody, and sometimes we can just get angry and lose our temper for no good reason. And these may reflect our bottled up emotions, what's happening deep inside our mind. So many people have these problems, not just us. And our society shows what these are doing and what these emotions are doing in our relationships with people. And people are getting more violence. We see more rascal activity, more changes in our society. And children who see a lot of violence are likely to see violence as a way of settling conflicts. And children exposed to violence are more likely to assume that violent acts are acceptable. And viewing violence leads to emotional desensitization towards violence in real life. And it can decrease the likelihood that one will take action on behalf of a victim when violence occurs. So seeing violence in movies or seeing violence in real life and come to accept it makes people desensitized to it and makes violence more likely to occur in societies. In America, it's an increasing problem. And it's estimated that 1,500 children die in America each year because of child abuse or child neglect. And in 2010, that 78% of victims suffered from neglect, 70% were physically abused, 9% got sexual abuse, and 8% were psychologically maltreated. And additionally, 3 to 10 million children witness domestic violence each year. When a kid sees domestic violence, husband hitting his wife, it creates a sense of accepting this violence. And that means our society is to become more violent. So domestic violence is a terrible thing to have in our community, a terrible thing to have in our society for the welfare of our children. Entertainment violence is also a cause of increasing problems with violence in children. When they see violence, when they play violent games, then they take violence as being a normal way of life. And it makes them more unsure of themselves, more fearful, and more increasing mistrusting of others. In Australia, where there's so much violence on the news, on TV, people become scared. And when they see single men walking through parks and things, mothers and children get frightened. Maybe they're going to attack us. Maybe it's going to say something. Well, these poor men are probably quite normal. So children exposed to a violent program at a young age have a higher tendency to violence and aggressive behavior later in life. And much more fear goes into society. People aren't nearly as friendly. Today in Papua New Guinea, especially in urban areas, there's increasing violence and unhappiness in many children's lives, both at school and outside. And this has serious ramifications in our society. In Manus, our high schools are in trouble with a higher number of students being suspended or terminated than ever before. This never happened before in our high schools in Manus. And we cannot solve this problem by threatening our students just with termination, kicking them out of school if they are going to be violent. We've got to help them understand that violence is not the way to solve problems. Violence and doing stupid things is not the way to solve problems, and we've got to help them and come to understanding, not get cross with them. One of the few ways to overcome increasing incidents of violence and risk-taking is through teaching meditative techniques to help people and children understand and make them able to make decisions that be beneficial to themselves and society's well-being. And mindfulness meditation has been found not only to be effective in behavioral studies and medical practice, but actually seen on MRI studies. It's been shown to change the neurological pathways so that individuals can change habitual and destructive thought patterns into positive ones and lay the basis for a happier and peaceful life. So for our future of our society, the future of our communities, and future for our children, meditative and contemplative practice in schools should be given a very high priority. This can be done by having a more time in the syllabus. In time is where the students are given time so they can be quiet and focus their minds on its internal and interpersonal workings, promoting integration of the mind and harnessing the power of awareness to strengthen regulation of emotion and attention, enhance empathy and flexibility. And United Nations Declaration and Program Action on the Culture of Peace says that to ensure that children from an early age benefit from education on the values, attitudes and modes of behavior and ways of life to enable them to resolve any dispute peacefully and in spiritual respect for human dignity, tolerance and non-discrimination. And we should reinvigorate national efforts and international cooperation to promote the goals of education for with a view of achieving human, social, economic development and promoting a culture of peace. Involve children in activities designed to instill in them the values and goals of culture of peace. Education is not just a matter of stuffing kids with facts. It's making them happy beings, contribute to the community and make the community a happy, good place in which to live and grow. In summary, it's been shown that being aware of the present moment without grasping onto judgments improves our immune function, enhances a sense of peace and clarity, and can increase empathy and relational satisfaction. The capacity to disengage from this default continuous narrative, engage and relate to the present moment, is very importantly with mood and anxiety disorders. As our habitual chatter in the front part of our brain, which goes on when we don't control our thoughts, has been shown to increase our vulnerability to illness. And continuous chatter can be taken over by our moods and our anger and goes round and round, increasing our bad thoughts about others and our situation. It's very important to be able to disengage from this continuous narrative, habitual chatter in the front of our brain. To do this, we've got to learn how to focus our brain and be aware. And mindfulness meditation has been used in educational systems at all levels and been shown to increase the feeling of calm, relaxation, reduce anger and stress, and improve concentration in students. And the effects of mindful meditation and prophylaxis in schools also has a beneficial effects in the broader community. Mindfulness meditation practice has demonstrated effects in emotional regulation and improved attention, increased calm and resilience, better stress management and coping skills, and deliberate cultivation of the qualities of empathy and compassion. Our brain is like a muscle. We can train it in the right way and make it strong. We can also let it be trained in a wrong way and make our brains work for the destruction of ourselves, our good lives, and our communities. To give our children the best chance in life and to help develop a balanced and stable society, mindfulness meditation practice should be introduced to teacher training programs, both a graduate and service, as a high priority. And training programs as developed in the US, UK and elsewhere could be utilized and adapted for its use.